for my science so arts and I say aha Ghanatube so in 70 Addo so near Ecoso Ewo or my Ghana and ya kasi ebeka ye free hand say Addo for in some Ecoso ebini yanko team.
Now turn to Honorable Mavis in Cancer Board.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the State of the Nation's address, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, also let me add my voice to the other colleagues in thanking the President on coming to the House to give the State of the Nation's address as mandated by Article 67 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, I'm very happy that Honorable Suhini agrees with the minority that the President did not deliver on the State of the Nation's address. Mr. Speaker, he did. Mr. Speaker, he did say it. Mr. Speaker, we can check the hands that he did say that he did. Mr. Speaker, it is rightly so because all the President did was to lament. Mr. Speaker, when the President attended on the House.
Honorable members, I've already laid down the rules. Please, let's allow the debate to flow. So far, so good. We've done well, at least. I don't want to entertain it. Even the leader wanted to come by way of I didn't allow it. Please, let's so honorable member, continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, once again. So then, as I said, the President only lamented. Mr. Speaker, when the President attended on the House, he painted a very gloomy of the S4 administration as if nothing good had been achieved under the 8 years of Nana Addo Akufo-Addo's presidency, which is entirely false, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we all know very well that there are several indicators of seeing how robust or weak an economy is. When the President attended on this House, he only focused on inflation rate, which he mentioned it was at 23% when he became President. Mr. Speaker, what he failed to also mention was that 12 months prior to that, the inflation rate was at 54%. In a record time of 12 months, His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo was able to reduce it from 54% to 23%, which is very commendable, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the President went ahead to say that the economy that was handed to him was criminally handled. Mr. Speaker, I beg to differ. It is very unfortunate and unfair. Mr. Speaker, this was an economy that grew at a rate of 6.3%, Mr. Speaker, and that was post-COVID and after the Russian-Ukraine war. Mr. Speaker, I would like to draw the House. Mr. Speaker, whenever the President came home, he failed to mention the effects of COVID, but in international engagement, he mentioned that COVID had ruined the entire world being. Mr. Speaker, please. Mr. Speaker, I would like to draw this House's attention back to 2016, when the mandate was given to His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. Mr. Speaker, we took over an economy with a growth rate of 3.4%. Mr. Speaker, if this economy was criminally handled with a growth rate of 6.3%, which surpassed the IMF prediction of 4%, I would say that then His Excellency John Dramani Mahama criminally handled our economy as well. Mr. Speaker, that economy was on life support, actually was dead and needed a miracle to resuscitate it. And that is exactly what His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo did. He performed miracles to resuscitate our economy. Yeah. Mr. Speaker,
go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, the economy that was criminally handled, Mr. Speaker, was able to restore teacher training allowances and nursing training allowances that collapsed under His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Mr. Speaker, in the same vein, we're able to revive the health insurance scheme, which His Excellency John Dramani Mahama scrapped. Mr. Speaker, we're able to fix Dumso and keep our lights on for 8 consecutive years. Mr. Speaker, in the same vein, we introduced free SHS when His Excellency John Dramani Mahama said it was going to take 20 years to get that done. So he did.
Go ahead, don't mind me.
Mr. Speaker, so to say that that economy was criminally handled is unfair and very misleading. Mr. Speaker, During the electioneering period, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama campaigned on the back of unemployment, especially amongst our youth. Mr. Speaker, what did we see? One of the first instructions His Excellency gave was to instruct his Chief of Staff to terminate all appointments that was done.
Go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, he asked his Chief of Staff to terminate all appointments that were done after the 7th of December. Mr. Speaker, we all know very well that appointments do not start and end in a day. Some takes weeks, some takes months. So he knows very well that most of these appointments started somewhere June, July, August. So to say that you've come into power and you are terminating appointments when you came to power on the back of unemployment is very unfair, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to find out from the President, do we have second-class citizens in this nation?
No.
Because that is exactly how he's treating these young people. Mr. Speaker, I have with me here a load shedding document, and this dates back to October 1st to 14th. Mr. Speaker, he said, I think what the President is trying to do is prepare us of the hardship ahead. If he's having problems keeping our lights on, I'm going to call on the President to reach out to his predecessor and ask him how he was able to keep our lights on for 8 years.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, the President during his electioneering period again, Mr. Speaker, he gave a promise to the women of this nation.
Go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, he gave a promise to our women. And when we're working on the affirmative action bill, which is now an act, Mr. Speaker, he gave us the assurance that we had the full support, we had his full support, and he supported women. Mr. Speaker, what do we see when the mandate was given to him? Mr. Speaker, in the last administration led by His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, we had 5 out of 19 women in cabinet, Mr. Speaker, which represented 26%. As it stands now, we have only 2 women in cabinet. Has Mr. President changed his mind on supporting women? Mr. Speaker, when I look on my side, I see about 31 beautiful, eloquent, knowledgeable women. And I know that when the President was in opposition, he was a firm believer in reshuffling. We beg him whenever he decides to do a reshuffle, he should consider our women on this side because they are capable of doing the work done, Mr.
Thank
Speaker.
you.
Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I wasn't one that was never, I was never going to, and I would never vote for the NDC. But I was quite excited when the President mentioned the 24-hour economy. Mr. Speaker, I thought that this was going to thrive on the back of the private sector. Mr. Speaker, when the President came to this House, I mean, during the electioneering period, we had different explanation of what the 24-hour economy meant. I hope that he coming to this chamber gave him the opportunity to explain to Ghanaians what exactly what the 24-hour economy did.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, he failed to do this. He's only limited the 24-hour economy to the passport office through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Speaker, I want to state on record that we started a 3 and 2 shift and cleared the backlog of 70,000. So the 24-hour economy that he's talking about, he should focus on the private sector and incentivize the private sector. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Ebusiafo we de wankasa ode waso ate ede weni ehu nia ekoso ewo yemai Ghana mu ene mesho se ko comment section na fa comment no ebrem na mejebre akenkan ede ama fefefe aha eye Ghanatube so insema ekoso ena onsa ebeka unsubscribe ya subscribe na hit notification bell no for more news updates see ade akamo